everyone, I'm Mubina Kapasi and I'm right here at the Kotak Mutual Fund headquarters where all our eyes are glued onto what FM Nirmala Sitharaman announced today, and that is Budget 2024. Well, largely, we seem to be giving this budget a thumbs up, but let's hear it from the man himself, Mr. Nilesh Shah, the MD of Kotak Mutual Fund. Mr. Shah, thank you for joining us. I think all in all, first, let me get your take on what did you think of Budget 2024?
Well, this budget can be described as citizens' pride and peers' envy.
What do you think are the key positives about this budget from a market standpoint? What do you think the market liked the most?
So, stock market of India are trading at much higher valuation to global peers. We are trading at 8 times higher valuation than Russia, 3 times higher valuation than China, 2 times higher valuation than Brazil. This valuation needed to be justified. No one was expecting 5.1% fiscal deficit. She not only committed to that, but also 4.5, 4.6 for next year after that. She delivered on an inclusive growth. Two challenges which Indian economy is facing. The consumption at the bottom end of pyramid is not growing as fast as the top end of the pyramid. The mass market products are not growing as fast as the premium product. Second, private capex is not growing as fast as the government capex. This budget is acting as a catalyst of inclusive growth by support to rural housing, fisheries and agriculture, through support to self-help groups and so on and so forth. It is also pushing for capex through very low interest or nil interest loans for R&D and innovation. It is creating space in the banking system and market for capital raised by companies by keeping net borrowing program of the government under control. So overall, this is a very, very good budget. There is an election impending and yet there has been no populist measures. This budget will give confidence to investors that India is capable of achieving impossible trinity. Spend money to create inclusive growth. Invest in the future by enhancing infrastructure allocation and yet maintain the path of fiscal prudence.
I think that point which you said, right, that there is now room for even private capex to come about because government fiscal deficit and borrowing program is low. So keeping that in mind, which sectors do you think will benefit the most if capex picks up? And in many ways, this is also like a rate cut, right? Because now you're offering more credit available to the private sector.
So one, the energy sector should benefit. Clearly, as of today, power sector requires investment and entrepreneurs are seeing that there could be power deficit over a period of time if fresh capacities doesn't come up. There is also focus on coal gasification and liquefaction. There's also focus on EV ecosystem. There's also schemes for solar rooftop installation. So everything related to energy should benefit out of this vote on account. The second is the PLI scheme and China Plus One. While per se in budget there are limited things for PLI, but just yesterday there was a import duty cut on mobile phone instrument equipments. So there is beyond budget also a support for PLI stroke manufacturing sector that should result into capex.
Okay, and finally, I think FM Sitharaman, one of the first few things she said is she has an idea of a Vixit Bharat. So as India progresses, do you also see a Vixit investor?
Undoubtedly, Mubina, investors have matured a lot. One, SEBI has spent a lot of money on investor education. They have put a lot of guardrail for investor protection. Mutual fund distributors have gone to every pin code of this country to spread investor education. And boy, where have we reached? There was a time when markets will correct and will go to investors saying that please don't worry, long-term India is good. Today when markets correct, they call us, Nilesh bhai, don't worry, we are sending money. Ensure that you are buying into the market which is becoming cheaper. To me, India is Vixit Bharat on one side. Our digital payment infrastructure is much better than all other Vixit worlds. But there's one more thing which I believe should qualify us as a Vixit Bharat only from that narrow point of view. In most Western worlds, which we call Vixit, their parents will not be able to face the next generation because they are leaving them with debt. The debt burden is increasing and it's not being used for creating assets. In our case, at least for this year and the last year and before that, we will be able to tell our kids कि बेटा बेटी आपके लिए हम कर्जा जरूर छोड़ रहे हैं, but सामने उतनी ही assets भी छोड़ रहे हैं. This year, the net borrowing program will be about 11.5 lakh crore, and the revised estimate shows about 9.5 lakh crore of investment. Next year, net borrowing will be about 11.75 lakh crore, and investments will be about 11.11 lakh crore. कितने देश ऐसे हैं जो अपने बच्चों की आंख में आंख डाल के बोल पाएंगे बेटा हम आपके लिए कर्जा नहीं असेट्स भी छोड़ के जा रहे हैं.
Very well said. Well, indeed, I think a 10 on 10 from you then on the budget.
Undoubtedly, the constraints within which finance minister was, there is an election impending, there is pressure to announce reveries and freebies. There is expectation of investors to deliver a budget which will truly become citizens' pride and peers' envy. And she has achieved that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Shah, for joining us. Stay tuned to Kotak Mutual Fund social media handles. We'll be back with more.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.